Hello, everyone. I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and a Happy New Year. Today, I want to go over some new tools that have popped into Siril, and they are all Python scripts. And if you remember when I was first reviewing the later editions of Siril, it started including the Python workflows, that this was going to extend Siril so much faster than was capable for the programmers to do, in the same vein as what PixInsight does. It gets extended through scripts. And what I want to show you today is the Veralux Hypermetric Stretch. This thing is awesome. Now, I use this, I still do a what's it called? I still do a generalized hyperbolic stretch, but after I do the Verilux stretch. So I'm going to go and show you where you can get it. You click on Get Scripts, and I can't remember how far down it is. There it is, right there. So it is a Python script. And this is a new one. Might have to look at that later. But today we're just going to talk about this one. And what you can do is right-click on the script, say OK, and it will open the script in a Python editor. And generally what you will find is a description of what the script does, and then how to use it. What I will do now, and if you knew Python, you could make changes, subtle changes to like defaults that pop up when the interface window comes up. I'm not that smart, so I don't mess with it. So I'm going to load the same image that I worked the last time, or for my last video. And that workflow created an image, one of my best images to date. I think this new workflow is much faster because it really helps the background. And I will histogram stretch this, and you can see that I have some pretty unusual gradients because this is a Raza. And I also have some awful light pollution that I was starting in and then moving out, which created a weird gradient. But those are all things that can be handled. So what I want to do is quickly crop the image. And I like to preserve the aspect ratio, so I'm going to do something like this. Say crop. And then I will just do a SETI Astro automatic background extraction. I'm not looking to really get too fancy with a lot of these settings. I want to get right to where things will start to make a difference. And we'll just process this as is. And we're almost done. Okay, it's now finished, almost. There we go. So it did a good job. We go to auto stretch, you can see that it did a very good job for what I was starting with. Now, because of my skies and the filter I use, my backgrounds are always a little brighter. And using this revised workflow with the Verilux tool, I have been able to get an initial stretch done, and then I can jump into the generalized hyperbolic stretch. So what I want to do now is to plate solve it, and it should flip it. Oh, wait a minute. Might need to there we go. That's a little tip. Sometimes sometimes the plate solver have some trouble because the image is so big. This is 10,000 by 6,000, and if you just draw out an ROI region, it will generally work much better. So now I have a plate solve image, and you can see that it's found all the targets. What I want to do now is I want to jump into color calibration, because you need to color calibrate before you do the Verilux. So I have an IMX 44 or a 455. I was using the IDAS. It actually the PD3, but this will work just fine. Close. I'm going to remove the green. That's good. So now I'm going to do a quick aberration. I'm going to do that, and you'll see it will tighten up all my stars. I'm not worried about the noise at this stage. It does 3 passes. All right, on the last pass. And keep an eye on these stars. Okay, it's complete, and I'll just undo and redo, and you can see that it's tightened up the stars to my liking. So now what we can do is I will unstretch the image, and we will jump into the Veralux Hypermetric Stretch. And I'm just going to give you a little background on, I'm not trying to fully stretch the data. I still want to have the ability to go in and fine tune using the generalized hyperbolic stretch. But what this tool will do is really help the background. It'll really even the background out tremendously. So it runs you through the steps you have to do. If you don't know your sensor, you can use the 709 rec, but I'm going to use my sensor. This target calibration that's the mean is the best way for me to explain this. So you'll see the default is 20. I don't like it that bright, so I'll go a little bit darker because I want to be able to pull out the areas in the image that I want. These numbers get changed when you do an auto calculation. And then the physics color engine, if you hover over this, what I like to do is not quite go so heavy. I like to lower this a little bit, which seems to help with my data. So I'm using 3. And then the color strategy is if you just hover over the slider, it'll give you information. So the center is 0 balance. Left, as you start moving left, it will clean noise, increase shadows, conversions, whoops. And then if you move right, it softens, highlights, decreases color grip. And then as an example, say I wanted to just reset it, you double click it. So I usually bring it down to 0.8. And now I have it the way I want it, so I'm going to auto calculate. And you can see that it's changed the log ID and the protection basis. So now I can do a process. And what we're going to see is a stretched image because I'm in linear mode. And the image is going to be a little bit on the dark side, but that's okay. That's the way I want it. But you can see that it's evened out the background for me, which is what I was after. Now, I'm just going to show one more thing here. I'm going to put up a live preview, and then I'm going to make a change, and then I'm going to reload the preview, because every time you want to do something and you delete or go back, undo, you have to reload the input data. So I have moved down to let's go 1.2. 8 would be 1.6, yes. So I've gone down even further. Now I'm going to recalculate, and it should make a change. Let's go 5. It's funny, I'm not seeing the changes, but if I drag this, you can see that that's making changes in the live preview. I don't normally use the live preview, so I'm just going to go back to where I was, which was 3 and 0.8. Just reload to make sure, and then I'm going to do this. Now, what I can show you is if I go back to the default and then do a calculate, you'll see that the numbers change again. And if I process this data, it's going to be way too bright for me. The background is going to be washed out, and that's not what I'm after. See how much more washed out that is. I would prefer not to have this when I start doing the generalized. I can get rid of a lot of it by changing the black point, but I would also rather start darker. So I'm going to go back to my 16.8. I'm going to reload the inputs and then do an auto calc. And you'll see that the background will be much darker and much flatter looking, which is easier for me once I get going into the hyperbolic stretch. There we go. So now I can close this. And I'm going to open up the Generalized Hyperbolic Stretch. And you can see that some of the grayness in my background is this right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go even weighted. Go to the black point, bump this up a little bit. And I think it's going to be right around 0.12 maybe. Yeah. We'll start here. I'll apply this. And now what I can do is I can actually start my stretching. So I'm going to go back up to the generalized. I'm going to pick an area like right in here as my symmetry point, and now I'm going to start my stretch. And you can see that my stars have good color. Okay, so for my first initial stretch, that's brought up the area that I was interested in. Now I'm going to go back into the black point. Whoops, I didn't process that. I want to also make, let's undo that. Okay. So I'm going to go 1.2. And then I forgot to take my now you can see that as I start stretching, my colors are off. So I'm going to go fix that right now. So I'm going to use green as my base. And I'm just going to start moving, turn the red off, move the blue over, apply that, turn them back on again. Now I'm going to pull down the black point. And now I'm going to go up and I'm going to do a saturation stretch. And what I want to do is I want to push this hump to here. So I'm going to just select a symmetry point around there. Oops. And you can see that's helping the areas around. It's popping out the blues a little bit. I can go a little further, I think. Yeah, like like that better. So I'm going to also protect the highlights again because I don't want to oversaturate the stars. I'm going to get out of this. And now what I want to do is pick an area right in here. And you can just see that there's some really faint stuff in there. That I want to pull up like that. So we'll do 0.24. Oh. 0.6. Go about like in there. I'm liking that. So I could be done with this right now, and I think I'm going to be. I'm going to protect the stars again. And you'll notice that I have not removed the stars. I want to keep this with the stars at this stage. I'll apply it. I'll close this. I'm going to save this as a TIFF file. I'll call this B. I'm going to save it as a 16-bit file. And I haven't done any color correction other than that first step or the second step in the hyperbolic stretch. So now I'm going to close this because I'm pretty much finished here. I'm going to jump into Photoshop. And the first thing I'm going to do is a color correction. So I'm going to get my white points back. And if I open up the histogram and if I open up the histogram, where's my histogram? There we go. You can see that expanded view. You can see that my colors are close, but they're not perfect. So what I'm going to do is a filter from deep sky colors. And I'm going to set my white point. And you can see that's fixed. The colors there. And now I'm going to remove the green is a little off. So I'm going to do this HLVG, which will fix the green. There. Now that is a pretty darn good looking image for what little work I've done so far. Now, now is when, and if I zoom in, whoops, wrong one. I still have a little noise, but it's not too bad. But it's something I can deal with. I love the fact that I'm pulling out these red areas, and I think we can do a little better in the camera raw filter. But I've got a lot of nice blue regions. So let's get this full screen again, and I'm going to run an action called Star Exterminator on screen. And what this will do is break out 3 layers: the original background image, a starless image, and a stars image when it's finished. And that will let me work on each of those layers individually. And this is where I can start tweaking the target. The nice thing about that Verilux is that uh, it will pull out every last bit of signal there is in the data. It is just an awesome little Python script. And this is version 3. When I first started using it, it was version 1.1. It came out shortly after I made my last video. And I just haven't had any time to make a new one showing some of the features. But I think now is the time. It's up to version 1.3, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. But I have nice colors in the stars. And I'll still say that even though the main target is M31, M32, M100, if you don't get the stars, that is like a third of the data, or the third of the image as far as viewing goes. And if you don't get that right, it just throws off the whole thing in my artistic eye. And for not having any narrowband other than a light pollution filter and ROX color camera, it's just, I'm amazed that there's just so much stuff in this image. I'm not going to do it here, but what I could do is run this, I could have run it through SETI Astro's sharpening routine, which would have really helped these areas. When this is finished, I'll zoom in to show you what I'm talking about. But there are a gazillion stars in this blue stuff. Now again, I wasn't all that concerned with the background. Where I really finalize my background is when I jump into the camera raw and start making adjustments there. I was more interested in pulling out what I could, and then through experience, I know what I can do in Photoshop, so I know what I can get away with in post-processing in a program like Siril. You can do the same thing in Pix, but I always use Photoshop to do my final sweetening of the image. So now I have my 3 layers, the starless layer, the stars. Let me just zoom in to this region here, and you can see there are a lot of little blue stars all through here, and that SETI Astro run would pop those individual blue dots into much sharper detail, and it just kind of makes the image worth the effort. So now I'm going to drag my star layer down, and I just have my background now. So I'm happy with the noise that's in this image. There isn't a lot. This is that area here is where the blue star was. So I'm going to jump right into the camera raw filter. Oops, I'm sorry. I forgot to change my layer. Now jump into the camera raw. And I could select auto. That's a good start. So I'm going to start tweaking settings. I bring this, oops, wrong thing. I'll go to 8. Somewhere, maybe that's what 8 looks like. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm going to pull down the core just a tickle. See what my shadows, maybe 16. My whites might bring down the whites a little bit, or maybe bring it up. And kind of like that. The colors I'm happy with. I'm just going to pull this up. That I don't want to make it too purpley. Somewhere around in there. The effects. This just adds a little detail to the arms. Little dehaze will smoothen out the background. I'm done there. So now what I can do is click on this button and I get a little, I got areas that I can control. So you can see that it's taken the purple cast out of there and it's leaving the blue, which is what I want. Let's see if I can pull this out a little bit. Do something like that, maybe. Find an area like right there. I don't want to go too far. And you can see that's helped those red regions. Still might want to take just a little more purple out of there. Do something like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. The only thing I have to do now is my details, and this is where I can start removing some of the noise that I brought back in by stretching, which when you go into camera raw, you're stretching. I have my magic numbers. I like that. Big difference. So now I can bring my stars back up. That looks pretty good. Last thing I'm going to do is a quick APFR run on this layer, which will help sharpen up the bands, give it a little depth. Now, this is not a perfect image by any stretch of the imagination. It's just to show you what this new Verilux Python script can do. And as you can see, it really pops the colors. When his first versions were of the script were very oversaturated with the colors, and as he's come out with later versions, it's really helped out how far he's pushing those colors. And as you can see, I still have a little purple cast in here. And what I'm going to try to do, I'm just going to leave that the way it is. And we're going to drag my stars up. Oops. Maybe I'll just bring them down to here. And I will try. Let's see what the histogram looks like. Yeah, the blues are a little pushed. I could do another white balance. Yeah, I like that. like that. That's helped, I think. So all in all, that's not a bad looking M31. I have a lot more color uh, in fact, what I will do is open the one that I posted to the group. That's the one I did uh, pre-Verilux. And where I was having some difficulty is these blue areas. And I know it's a little more, the blue is there, but again, I'm not spending a lot of time on this. It's more to show you that you can really pull out some of this faint stuff, and where it shows up is right in through here on what is that, M32 or M101? Take your pick. So I think that this new script that's available to Siril users is a game changer. And the guy's been working his heart out. And every time that we get a new release, it is just better, better, and better. And as you can see, I have not done anything to the star layer. This is as it came out of Siril. I could probably give it a little more vibrance, but I'm not gonna. I like the colors of the stars. It's not, they aren't overpowering. It just is a great looking image, I think. So I hope everyone enjoys their holidays and the new year. And I hope you got something out of this video. Clear skies, everyone.